We've got brute news. It has been so long since we've had anything to talk about at all. Isn't that right, Rock? It's been dark times, guys. I was making videos about warriors. I honestly, I was losing it. I wasn't able to sleep. I stopped drinking. I don't know, man. It's been rough. But you know what? Eugene C has come. Our savior has arrived. And he's picked us up and given us something to hope for, something to dream for. Rhinar is back in competitive conversation right now, and we're going to dive into how that's possible. By the end of this video, you're going to be able to play Rhinar about as good as Eugene C. Not really, probably 20% as good, but that's 20% better than you are now. So let's dive into it on how to master Rhinar like Eugene.
To be a fearsome damage. Oh, it's another blood rush, ladies and gentlemen. 2 blood rushes here.
Oh,
Eugene deploys it again.
The first question you have to answer if you're going to play Rhinar is, why are you doing this? And that's a question all Rhinar 1 tricks have been asked since the beginning of time. Even when he was doing pretty good. A lot of people are going to look at you and go, why are you wasting your time, buddy?
Not only is he playing Rhinar Reckless Rampage, a hero that nobody thought would be doing well at this tournament, he's also playing it like a brute.
And the answer to this is that Rhinar is a very malleable, flexible deck that can do pretty much everything all the time in one beautiful 80 card package. And Eugene C has covered this in depth in his interviews and his Twitter posts and his Discord posts. I'll link to all of those in the description below. He was recently seen on the Card Guys YouTube channel, went into this hero in detail. But ultimately, Rhinar can do everything. He's a degen aggro deck. He has high variance. He has scab skins to bail him out of bad situations. He has defense reactions. He has pummels. He has on hits. He can do anything, right? He's a very flexible hero that can go into almost any meta and have no auto loss matchups, right? Rhinar's never really had an auto loss. You could always gamble your way out of a bad situation. The other main strength of Rhinar is his hero text. And I know a lot of people for a long time have said Intimidate has no value, right? Now, in metas where heroes don't block as much, I can see the argument a little bit. But one thing you really need to consider is how much stress Intimidate puts on your opponent. Every one of your most significant plays disrupt your opponent's ability to block, ability to choose their destiny. And even decks who only want to block sometimes gradually get impacted by this. The amount of times I've seen an opponent take 3 extra damage simply because they didn't want to block with one of the power cards left in their hand and then die to a blood rush on the next turn. It's wild. The amount of times my opponent groans because I sniped their D-react out of their hand. It's important. It puts a lot of tax on your opponent. It weighs them down. And it's really hard to quantify Intimidate's intrinsic value, but just know that it is very powerful. But the one time it is the most powerful in this current meta, this aggro meta where heroes aren't really blocking that much, is turn 0. And Eugene has built a absolutely disgusting turn 0 aggro deck. And in this video, we're going to cover that in detail. So let's dive into it. Boom, throwback. I bet some of you don't even know what this application is. Back in the day, we had to play FabTCG online in this bad boy. And it was horrible because we had to talk to people and request games. And then when you're playing, you had to communicate, and it was yucky, you know, it was really gross. Nowadays, I can just spam, hello, 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 are you there? As I absolutely decimate my opponent with 45 damage blood rushes. It's beautiful. But in order to maximize your turn 1 damage, we need to understand the tools we have available at the very beginning of the game. And that is, of course, most importantly, Rhinar's hero text. So anytime you discard a 6, boom, we're going to be ripping and Intimidate, taking a card out of our opponent's hand. Now, if you think about it, which is hard because math is hard and we play brute, your opponent starts with 4 cards at the beginning of every game. Every Intimidate takes one of those away. 4, 3, 2, right? And the magic number you really want to get to is 2 Intimidates. Anything past 2 is probably going to be a diminishing return because they've already blocked a little bit. So if your opponent has 4 cards, each one of them blocks 3, that means they have a total of what? 12 block in their hands. If you Intimidate once, that goes down to 9. If you Intimidate twice, it goes down to 6, assuming that they can block with 3 with all their cards. So if you're sending 12 damage and you do 2 intimidates, that's 6 damage going right through, baby. Right through. Very powerful. That's why we're disgusting on turn 1. And then we got our beautiful little claws right here. They're just two damage, 3 cost cards, or 2 cost 3 damage cards with go again most of the time. Anytime we have 2 free resources, we're going to chuck them in the claws and send it at our opponent's face. Hopefully we're leaking some damage. And then we've got, boom, the heavy hitters right now. Savage Sash. One thing you'll see Eugene do a lot is actually pop Savage Sash on turn 1. Wild, degenerate, I know. All of you tank Rhinar players probably like wince at the thought of giving away 2 value. But in this list, it is absolutely worth it. I'm going to put a picture on the screen right now of Eugene doing like 30 damage on turn 0. Imagine starting the game at 20, 15, or 10 life. Yeah, it's gross. And so you will pop Savage Sash on turn 0 when it's appropriate, and we'll go over some of those situations later. And then, of course, the tried and true, the OG, the reason prison players hate Rhinar, scab skin leathers, okay? Get used to rolling pretty much every time on turn 1. It's a lot to handle, I know. If you get 2 action points, right? That's not a dice. If you get 2 action points on your first turn, you're cooking, okay? Now let's dive into the rest of the cards that unlock some absolutely degenerate first turn plays. Okay, if we're going to make a tier list of the most impactful cards on turn 0, the reigning champion, without a doubt, is Bloodrush Bellows. So I think this is a no-brainer here, right? But Bloodrush Bellows intrinsically intimidates. It turns your claws on. It makes them a 5 damage breakpoint, and all of your cards come in for 8 after that, right? Very, very powerful. Bloodrush is almost always going to equal 8 damage on your first turn. And when you lean into some of the other more degenerate cards, it's going to go 10, 15, 20 damage, right? This is how your this is how your dream first turn starts. So we're always going to be ripping Bloodrush on turn 0. Very, very different than the tank days of old, right? This list has enough damage in it to kill your opponent, even if you kind of stumble through one of your Blood Rushes. Back in the tank days, if you misfired a Blood Rush, if they blocked a little bit too much, if you didn't take that tempo back, it was pretty much a loss because your opponent could then just pivot to fatigue and you would have to watch them as you threw 6s over and over and over again. But this list doesn't care. And this is one of those cards where you're going to be popping Savage Sash, you're going to be rolling, you're going to be going for the moon. And then to supplement some of these cards right here, we're going to call these the turn extenders, right? The free card arenas, right? Skullcrack gives you a free resource. Beast Within is going to give you an entire card that cancels out one of your discards. Beast Within is really the one you're looking for. This guy is going to give you those obscene damage turn 0s. But both of these together can equate to some absolutely disgusting things. And then in our like A tier category, right? You've got some of these core cards. There are plenty others that could kind of go in this list. But you've got your D-Gen, Go Again, Wild Ride, Pulping cards, right? Pulping always equates to 3 free damage as long as you hit that discard of a 6, right? This is great. The floor you want to start at is 3. So Pulping intrinsically does 3 damage, and it can do a lot more than that. Wild Ride, it's kind of less good cousin in this scenario. Also can do a turn extension. It costs 1 when you pop Savage Sash. It's pretty nuts. Savage Feast, the premium rolling card here, costs 0 with Savage Sash. Gives you a card back, so the discard is basically 0. And it turns on claws, letting you do some nutso things. And of course, what does it say on it? Intimidate, because you're going to trigger Rhinar's hero ability. Sand Sketch Plan is the most complex one to pull off, but when you have a wild Sand Sketch Plan turn, things can go absolutely to the moon. And one thing that you really have to get used to doing, and it's very difficult for me to do in person and paper, is turn 0, Scabskins, Sand Sketch Plan, tutor up my Bloodrush Bellows. You heard me right. We are going to be tutoring Bloodrush Bellows a pretty significant amount of the time. And, you know, if you throw that Bloodrush in the trash can, again, this is not the tank list. You'll be okay. But if you keep that Bloodrush and you have a blue and you discard a 6, that's 2 intimidates off the top, 2 action points, and you're sending stuff to the moon. All right? Barraging Beatdown. This current list, the Kobe list, is the one we're currently looking at and we'll be playing with in this video, only runs the blues. but several of Eugene's lists do run the yellows and the reds, right? This card just takes away a card from your opponent's hand. Again, it's all about that magic word Intimidate. It can do things like buff pulping, adding 2 more free damage. And then in some of the lists where you see reds and yellows, it can do quite a lot, right? Alpha Rampage red, barraging. What a brilliant way to start the game. And then Bare Fangs. You're going to be rolling for this, or you're going to be using a Sand Sketch plan to play this, but it does 8 to 10 damage depending if you have a Blood Rush or not. And it does what? It intimidates. And then down here at the bottom, these are kind of like your CD tier cards. These are worst case scenario, well, second worst case scenario. These will just give you something to set up for next turn. You'll put something nice in your pocket, and you'll set up for a massive turn with a, hopefully an Agile windup or a Might token or one of these bad boys, right? And then F tier, hopefully this never happens to you. You start the game and you can't penetrate any damage. Eugene C has kind of said that if you start the game first and you don't do any damage, it's an uphill battle. 8, he says, is like a 20% advantage. 6, it's like 15. 3, it's like a 10%. These are like a 5% advantage, kind of. And then all the way down at the bottom is a 0% advantage. And you are disadvantageous to start with, right? Okay, so you understand the cards now that we're going to be leveraging to do a bunch of damage. Let's see it in practice. All right, so we're going to be ripping these raw. Our opponent has 4 cards in their hand, 40 health. We've shuffled our deck, and we're going to start the game in these first couple turns with a Blood Rush Bellows, just to show off. It probably doesn't really deserve very much attention right now, but we're just going to show it off, okay? And boom. So, looking at this turn, what can we do, right? It's not the best Blood Rush in the world, but it's likely going to be doing some free damage, okay? So our only real question right now is, are we going to be rolling Scab Skins? And how are we going to get rid of one of these blues? Are we going to 50-50 it? Likely no, okay? So I think in this scenario, I would consider rolling, but we do have this beautiful combo. Unfortunately, we're going to discard our pulping if we do a Blood Rush here, but let's just do it, right? We're going to roll, get used to rolling. 2 action points. Let's let it rip. We're going to do 1 Intimidate, magic number. We're going to play Blood Rush Bellows. We're going to pitch a blue. We're going to discard our card here. We're going to do a second Intimidate. We're going to draw 2. Oh, a Beast Within. Oh, a pulping. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? We have 2 action points left. So, of course, in this scenario, we've got a triple Intimidate coming with 8 damage on the top, and it's dominated, right? And then we have a 50-50 chance of getting rid of this Beast Within here. So we're going to play pulping. We're going to likely miss. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. F11? Shovel? And we're legendary, right? Keeping this card to our hand. Beast Within will trigger. We'll lose 1 life. Beast Within will trigger. This is going to come to our hand. We have 0 resources left. 1 more Intimidate. This is coming in for 8. Our opponent is able to block 3. They'll take 5. And would you look at that? Would you look at that? We have the ability here to send 10 or send 8. Of course, we're going to be sending 10. Okay? We're going to be sending 10. Bop, bop. Our opponent just started the game at 25 health. Yeah. Pretty sick. Pretty sick. Oh, I actually forgot 2 damage. They started at 23 health, right? Not bad, right? Imagine you sit down from your opponent. You're really stoked about entering this tournament, and you start the game at 23 life. Okay, let's do another one. All right, let's let it go. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Boom. It's looking delicious. It's looking delicious. It's looking delicious. This is an absolute 0-brainer. The only thing is we do have the Savage Feast, which would look pretty freaking sick if we can hit an action point here. And what happens if we miss on this Scabskins roll? What happens if we hit a 1? We just pocket and have a sick Blood Rush on turn 2. So I'm, of course, going to roll on that 50% chance. Our turn's over. We cry, but we have a Blood Rush on turn 2. But let's just pretend we hit here. Or we lose the game. Brute life, dude. But let's pretend we hit. Okay? Blood Rush Bellows, blue. 50-50 chance here. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Boom. Okay. Good thing that we rolled, huh? Good thing we rolled. We're going to Intimidate 1 card. Draw 2. Draw 2. We have a blue. We're going to the moon here. We're going to the moon. 2 resources. Yeah. So let's think about this for a second. We know we have the ability right now to send this Savage Feast raw. But, right, if we do that, we risk discarding this blue here. Okay, we do risk that. So what I would honestly do is probably just send a claw here. They're going to block 2. They'll take 2 damage. Then I'm going to go ahead and pitch this, play this, discard this. We're going to do another Intimidate here. It's going to come in for 8. We're going to draw a card off of Savage Feast trigger. They're going to block 3. They're going to take 5. Then I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to send 5 more damage. Yeah. I mean, even if you did something wild here, you might have been able to do something wild with Savage Sash on that turn, but nah, don't waste it. Take that 2 value. We only played 1 real card. And we penetrated quite a bit. Okay, so I don't really think Blood Rush needs much more attention than this, right? We can do something absolutely disgusting if we set up like with a Beast Within and another Beast Within and a Pulping and a Wild Ride and a Savage Sash. But you know, I don't think I really need to explain that to you guys. I'm pretty sure you're capable of understanding the absolute filth that Rhinar can do if he hits Beast Withins in a row, right? So let's rip a couple of natty ones here. All right, we're starting the game off with a fist full of reds. Now, that's unfortunate because this list only has about a 2% chance, sub 2% chance of anything like this ever being able to happen. So what are we going to do? We're going for Savage Feast 100%, and we're hoping we draw a blue off the top to bail us out of the situation. We don't get it. So, you know, it is what it is. I'm going to try and risk it for my 2 free damage. Right? Boop, boop. It's going to be fine if we miss here. We hit. Take this card back. We have 1 resource floating, 1 Intimidate. They're going to block 3. They'll take 3. We've done our job. We hit that magic number. And now we can choose to attack with 2 more claws or pocket this card, right? If our opponent has any chance of having 2 blocks or 0 blocks, I'm probably ripping these claws. You might get 1 chip, you know, like get 2 chips or 3 chips, right? There's a chance they could start as low as 33. Or if you don't think that that's really a likely scenario, pocket this card, right, for next turn. Beautiful. Let's rewind and do it again. Okay, what do we get? Blue, Blood Rush, blue. Yeah, that's absolutely horrific. Not much we can honestly do here. This has a 1 in 4 chance, no matter what we tutor, to actually succeed. So the likelihood of that happening is pretty much 0. We can't even play this card, right? So the best chance we really have here is going for a double claw, right? That's really honestly it. Claw, pocket, hold. Okay, easy. Kind of boring. Sometimes it's like that. This scenario would have been a uphill battle for us to get through, right? Another one. Ooh, easy. Now, this is actually a hand where you could theoretically consider ripping a Savage Sash. We know that no matter what we hit, right? If we hit a Pulping or the Wild Rider or the Swing Big here, no matter what, it's actually pretty dope. But let's go for that high variance play just to show it off. Let's just go for some like absolute high variance. We're going to crack Sash, just pretend. I'm not entirely sure that I would do this, but we're going to show it off. 2 resources floating, send the Pulping, draw a card. I just accidentally pressed a button. Now everything's deleted. Intimidate, right? 1 Intimidate. They're going to block 3. They're going to take 3. We can send 3. They're going to block 3. 8. 5. Right? So 3 and 5 damage, 8 damage, right? Now, is Sash worth 8? Maybe. Ooh, magic, right? A magic turn. Beautiful. What do we do here? We're going to roll. Of course, we have a Savage Feast. What else do you do with it? 2 action points. Interesting question. We could theoretically hold on to this yellow for hopeful pitch value. Or what we could do is we could Intimidate, make a Might token, Savage Feast, pitch a blue, discard this, right? We have 1 action point left. Now we have 3 resources. We draw a card. They're going to block 6. We're going to send a claw. And then we can decide on whether, oh, well, they actually have no Intimidates here, right? So it would be 6. They take 3 here. Bop, bop, bop. Bop, bop, bop. Nice, right? Nice and easy. Okay, let's go do a Sand Sketch Plan turn because those are the most complicated one. They have a lot of weird scenarios you can get through. But that turn we did 6 damage, made a Might token, and are pretty happy about it. You know what I mean? We're pretty happy about it. So let's search. All right, so we have a Sand Sketch Plan in our hand, and we're just going to rip a natty turn here. Oh, dang. That's a nice turn, to be honest. So my intrinsic thought here is I have a blue, I have 2 6s, and they're both really 6/6s for a blood rush. So I'm going to roll scabs. I don't hit. That makes this turn a little bit more complicated, but let's just go for the tutor of the blood rush bellows here, right? Search. Oh, Lord. Oh, no. This is why a tabletop simulator is kind of a pain in the butt, dude. But we're going to go get that blood rush. Okay, we've successfully searched for our blood rush. Now we have a 1 in 4 chance of us discarding a blood rush and a 50% chance of losing our turn here. But we don't because we're absolute monsters, right? 1 intimidate, 2 action points. What are we going to do next? Pitch, play, discard, intimidate, play, boom, boom. Beautiful. 2 resources floating here. Another action point. They only have 2 cards left in their hand. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to send 5. They'll take 2. We're going to send 5. They're going to take 5 or 2. We're going to send 8. I know. It hurts to think about it. But look at how much health they have. Look at how much health they have. Yeah. Yeah, 28. We did 12 damage on preventable on turn 0. We're going to draw up to a full card hand. We just started the game up 12 life. Sand Sketch plan is absolutely nutso. And what happens if you discard your blood rush? Well, you know, you cry a little. You cry a little. But brutes are pretty used to crying. We do it all the time. When our heroes are good, we cry. When our heroes are bad, we cry. When we get support, we cry. And when we don't get support, we cry. Right? So, you know, just cry one more time. I'm not asking that much of you, you guys. I'm really not asking much of you. Okay? Okay. Final example. I swear. Final example. Oh, now this one is a little yucky. Okay. Honestly, I would probably roll here and consider my options. Nothing happens. So, yeah, you got to go for the moon. Now, would I go for a blood rush here? It depends on the matchup, I would say. If I'm in a desperate situation where this hero is going to outvalue me turn after turn, I would honestly just go for my blood rush here just to try and find it to pocket for next turn. If it's a deck that I'm kind of okay playing into normally, I might go for something like a blue because a blue would let me power this turn pretty well. I might go for like a beast within, but let's go for like a Wrecker Romp, I think. Or we can high roll at 1 in 4 chance, but it's not really worth it because if we discard either of these 2 cards, we're stuck. So let's go for our beautiful blue. All right, so let's just see what happens if everything kind of goes our way here, right? We're going to roll scabs. We get 2 action points. Beautiful. I'm going to play Blood Rush, Bellows, pitch this. We're going to discard our Beast Within. Boom. 1 Intimidate's going to go in the trash. We're going to draw a card, and then we're going to Blood Rush for 2. Boom. Okay. What do we do next? Well, you know, we have 2 resources floating. So we're just going to go for the moon here. We have a very sick turn. I'm going to crack Sash. I'm going to play this card. Boom, intimidate. Boom, make another resource. 3 resources. Then we're going to draw a card. Boom. Okay, they're going to block. They take 2. Yeah, this is going to be gross, right? We have our nasty stuff going on here. Then I'm going to play Pulping. 2 resources. We're going to draw a card. Discard a card. It's a Beast Within. Okay. We're going to draw a card. They're going to take 8. Nice, right? We're going to pitch. We're going to claw. We're going to claw. They're going to take 10. Nice. We have 2 resources floating. We're going to send it. We draw a card. Nice. Right? Nice. We're going to discard a card. Beautiful. They take 8. And then we're going to send 8. Right? That it's possible. It's possible. Absolutely disgusting. Gross. They start the game sub 10 health. Right? This is the degen stuff we're going for. So, okay, we've kind of understanding the power of going first. Let's dive into a little bit more of like the nitty gritty on Eugene C's list real quick. And then we'll close out this video being 20% better of a brute than we've ever been before. Let's go. All right, so I have Eugene's most recent list in front of me. That's his Kobe list. And if you follow Eugene at all, you're going to know that his deck changes wildly from tournament to tournament. And he goes to a lot of tournaments. Sometimes his deck changes like 3 times in 1 month. So it's pretty hard to keep up. But he does have some generic principles that he tends to follow. And that is mostly around his resource curve. He runs 21 reds, 18 yellows, and 21 blues. And I've seen those numbers shift ever so slightly. But one thing you're going to realize, he runs more yellows and more blues than most Rhinars do. And his explanation for that is that he wants a sub 2% chance to ever have a quad red and a quad blue turn. And that is the magic behind this bell curve, okay? It also helps him fuel some of those absolutely disgusting Blood Rush turns that you'll see in recent tournaments. Probably putting one on the screen right now.
He's drawing 2 more cards, which means that Nick Butcher is only going to have 1 card with which to block on this double Blood Rush turn. Does Eugene have the resources at this point? He's got a blue. He found his Eye of Ophidia once again.
And he lives and dies by this principle. Now, his list follows pretty much a similar cadence from copy to copy, and that is that he's trying to do everything all the time, all at once. So Eugene's lists tend to be filled with quite a few of contradictory cards, and that's because he wants to pivot his play style every single game, and he wants to play differently into every single hero, and he also sideboards differently if he goes first or if he goes second. And if you're watching this video, you're like, well, now I know. I always go first against a Rhinar player. Surprise! Rhinar has a higher win rate going second on average. So it's kind of like a pick your poison scenario. Your opponent chooses, they go first. You go, okay, I'll build my deck to go second. And I'm going to throw some D-reacts, some regular cards in there, take out some of the degeneracy. And then if they choose to let you go first, you go, all right, stack them up. Let's go. All my damage cards, everything I got. Let's go for the moon on turn 0. So you got to be really accustomed to changing your playstyle on Rhinar, especially with Eugene's list. And this kind of is a throwback to the old tank days when I used to publish my list and I'd have 34 cards in my main board and everything else in the sideboard. And I always said that I would sideboard differently every single game, depending on who I'm playing against and what their hero was, and if I was going first or second. And that's just something you have to do to maximize a hero who's a little bit lower on the tier list, right? You need to maximize your sideboard strategy. Now, Eugene hasn't published a sideboard list for this one, right? But he did publish an in-depth sideboard strategy on the Card Guy's Patreon, I do believe. So go over there and download it. It's not for this list, it's for the last version. But he does give you a lot of his insights. If you're interested in learning about that sideboard strategy, go there. And I'm not Eugene, so I'm not really going to go super in depth on his sideboard strategy because I don't know why he picked some of these cards. I don't know why he's doing that, but I'll give you a couple highlights, right? All right, so the few things that Eugene has said about his sideboarding strategy publicly in videos is that he does have kind of archetypes of sideboarding strategy. And that would be that he runs pure aggression into decks like Florian Enigma, right? All of his on-hit cards, all of his aggro cards, all of his degen. He's really trying to take down those fatigue style decks and overwhelm them with intimidates and damage. Against decks like Zen and Syndra, whose cards are very valuable in their hand, you want to take cards away from them. And so you are going to be playing a pummel, command and conquer, and send packing style strategy. You're going to be disrupting them throughout the rest of the game. And you're also going to be throwing in cards like Weakest Link here, right? That is just to hurt their game plan because every card out of their hand is for value in yours, okay? And then against KO and Azalea, you're going to be going for like a hybrid game plan, slightly aggressive, slightly disruptive, because you're trading kind of on a fair game state with them. So you really want to be doing an ebb and flow of aggressive and defensive play styles. And then Viserai and Kano, thankfully Viserai's gone. Get out of here, buddy. You're playing the situational gambler. So he basically was saying that you're going to be relying on Scabskins a lot in those matchups. You're really going to be going for some degen plays. You need to take every edge you can get. And then a very unique play style that I truly still don't think I understand. He says against new, you just need to play chaotic, right? You need to lean into the chaos, into the high variance. And he threw in like one snag, just for hopes and dreams, And then against decks like Dash.io, he calls it the defensive meat shield. Take out all your non-blocks, throw in your 3 blocks, and just eat their damage until they fatigue themselves, right? The other important things you really need to get used to, and we kind of covered that in the video already, but get used to really learning how to maximize Scabskin leathers. If you roll too late in a losing matchup, you've already lost. If you roll when you shouldn't roll, you're risking a loss, right? Mastering Scabskins is an entire skill set in the brute category that you really need to spend a lot of time to. I've done a lot of videos in the past on like the math behind Scabskins, when to roll, theoretical value calculations, but just get really comfortable on learning the ebbs and flows of gameplay into your opponent, and try your best to kind of map those out in your head and learn which heroes you should be rolling against, when you should be rolling, and how you should be rolling, okay? And then using Apex Bonebreaker on those disruptive cards is very valuable. CNC, send packing. It can even make some of your pummels an extra special, an extra spicy breakpoint. So make sure you're really understanding when to leverage Apex Bonebreaker. That goes for all of your equipment when blocking, but this one generates you 1 point of value. And then, of course, his AB package is kind of nuts. One thing that you might actually see him do is popping Skullhorn, which I know sounds crazy, but if he can get the kill with 1 extra Intimidate, he's doing it. And I've seen him run Skullhorn, not AB1, into Rune Blades. He's really just going for that wild murder turn at the end there, okay? So some other kind of high-level strategies that Eugene has told us to follow is make sure that you really understand Blood Rush Bellows. I've covered this so many times in my videos. The pitch curve on Blood Rush Bellows is very expensive, so you need to understand how many resources you need to fire it, and that is 6 on average. A 3-cost yellow in your arsenal will make that 7. That 7 number is very difficult to achieve. If you don't have enough resources, you're really going to be looking for a Scabskin Leathers and a Savage Sash play, because instead of clawing twice, you're going to be sending 2 attacks, okay? Beautiful, beautiful. And then you just need to understand that Rhinar is a very high variance, high risk, high reward hero. So you need to get used to doing high variance plays. And that is currently what I struggle with playing this version of Rhinar in paper. It's pretty easy to do it on Talishar, but my tank instincts always kick in. I end up doing a reserved play, and then I regret it for the rest of the game. So get used to it. Get used to gambling. Get used to playing Sand Sketch Plan to get your Blood Rush. Get used to trying to roll on turn 0. Get used to it, all right? Because Eugene has showed us that it works. He has had consistent performance, constant 8th, 9th, 10th bubbles. He's hit top 8 in the Battle Hardened recently. He has figured it out, and so now the rest of us need to catch up, learn, and improve upon his list, help him become the world's best Rhinar player, and maybe together we can actually make an A-tier hero again. Let's go. All right, we're going to show it off, and we hit first. Delicious. Delicious. So we're definitely going to be going for one of those kind of wild plays here. So we're not going to be able to do any damage here. So let's just get a blue out of our hand. And boom. Run away. So this is going to be an uphill battle, guys. This is going to be an uphill battle. So we're going to have to play pretty smart and figure it out. I'm going to keep it blue. Put a sand packing in our arsenal here. And yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, we leaked 1 damage. I guess that is acceptable. Okay, all blue hand, pretty much, and a pummel. So we're probably going to take a lot of damage here. We're marked immediately. 4. When this is attacks, create a fealty token. Sure. I'll give him the trot along. It doesn't look like we're going to take much punishment here. Okay, 2 fealty tokens. 39, 39. This is not going our way here. All right, so we're going to ebb and flow in our play styles a little bit. Looks like we're going to snipe and affirm loyalty here. Pretty good card to snipe, not bad. Balance of Justice. Oh, they're blocking 6. They really wanted to keep their hand here. So we're going to take that away from them. 2 cards in the trash can. Beautiful. They took 3. Slight edge on our side right now. Okay, and we also got a Savor Bloodshed. Not bad. No arsenal, though. Wow, we're drawing pretty light. Pretty light here. Not much to do. So, okay. Okay. Yep. Kind of figured. Right? Now it's going to get go again. We're going to get hit. Sure. We're just going to send 6. Likely pocket. Yeah, unfortunate. We could roll scabs. Go for like a 6 and a 9. But I don't mind having this arsenal. It's not the best arsenal in the game, but it's not the worst. So 38, 36. Now we're just playing like regular Rhinar, right? Just regular Rhinar. Getting that Valiant Dynamo value. Blech. Blech. Taking 5. Unless they D-react here. Oh, there they go. Interesting. Okay. So taking 2. Slowly but surely doing Rhinar stuff, but they're about to catch up to us right now. Okay, so we're just going to eat a whole turn worth of damage here. Not even a second thought. We might give him our equipment here. This piece, Savage Sash, just in case we need to do something nuts on this turn, right? So, you know, there's a chance we draw like 2 more Go Again cards, and then we can just do like something stupid with Savage Sash. So that's why we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Taking a bunch of damage. We're eating this, you know. We're going to eat this. They're probably going to buff it. Okay. Taking it. Yep. All right. All right. 3 fealty tokens. Their engine is starting to turn on, right? Sigil, 37, 35. Not the best scenario. Okay. Do we want a Scabs? No, we don't. Blood Rush Bellows. We keep our pulping. So here, we're definitely going to... Yeah, we're going to Claw. 5. Then they're going to balance here. Shutting down one of our Blood Rushes is kind of frustrating, but that's all right. Okay. Not the max value, so not bad. Hope they don't have a D-React. Guarantee a hit here. Yeah, that's fine. Beautiful. 10. Intimidate. So raw 10 damage going through. We get to keep 1 more card for another beautiful Mandible Claw. Okay. So pretty sick Blood Rush Bellows. Would have been really sweet if we could have found a beast within on top there or something along those lines, but you know, we live to see another day. They didn't pop their balance, so I find that interesting. Okay. Oh, nah, yep. Now we go 21 to 35. We're back on top. Blood Rush. Well, this is played till end of turn. You only may play cards that are draconic. Interesting. I have a feeling they do have their fealties, so it's not like we can really stop too much. They didn't really get to pick their hand here. I'm just considering Flashbag. I don't think we need it, but it could be pretty, and you know, honestly, let's go for it. Let's force some blocks. I'm really going to rip this Blood Rush again, and then we're going to force blocks from this point on, most likely. Hopefully we can get a decent one. I am considering just pocketing a card here. And then keeping Blood Rush for next turn, sending a Send Packing, Blood Rushing here. But I'm kind of okay with the circumstances, I think. Yep. Draconic. And then go again. And 4. Beautiful. Oof. 3. 8 goes. Gross. 21, 25. Blood Rush Bellows. And double Blood Rush. Can we salvage it? Not really. Not really. So we're going to have to pocket this Blood Rush for next turn. This is going to be a weak one, but then we'll have a 5-card Blood Rush immediately following this up. And we still have Savage Sash and Apex here. So we're in okay shape. Definitely the risk you run running a raw Blood Rush like this, but I really want to present some damage here and start them on the blocking side. So if they go this low, right? 15. So now we have a nice disruptive on hit. They lose all the value on there. That all they got. They're going to be stuck with that next turn. Likely going to have to pitch with it. Okay, we're getting our equipment. 5 of 8. Are they going to give us that last card to really keep? Let's see. Nope. Okay, so we get double the value. Oh, there it is. Okay, so they're going to get this back. Is that all you got? A mildly small turn. We're going to Arsenal. And, oh, this is a rough Blood Rush, right? This is kind of a rough one. I would have loved to see a blue here. That would have been actually insane. Okay, 2 go again. This is likely going to go to 4. We can send 7 next turn. We can send 6. We know we have no Blood Rushes to miss for the rest of the game. Or do we try and go for something gross, like 50-50? I'm feeling the 50-50 again. I'm feeling it. It's not even a 50-50, actually. 19-16. Ah, we're gods. We win the game. All right. So what can we do now? We have a lot of chances of not missing here. Perfect. 8 go again. We're going to get the claw. We're going to get the claw. We're going to get the dismantle. Blocking 4. 5. There it is. Max block. 5. 5. Okay, they're taking a lot here. Oh, we can actually just kill them. Right? Yeah. Easy game. And there you have it, right? We even played a little bit aggressive there, but we have so much damage left in our deck. Like, I'll show you in a second once this ends. So look at that, 17.2 average value. Not bad, especially considering we never use our gloves, and Talishar really likes to calculate the efficiency with your armor here. And we had 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5 block left. So yeah, sick. And then look at what was left in our deck. We still have some pummels, so if they get low, no big deal. We have our Bear Fangs, Sand Sketch Plan, Savage Feast, Wild Rides still there. So much gas. Swing Bigs, Pulpings, Wild Rides, Pummels. Yeah, like we had so much tempo left in our deck that firing those Blood Rushes like very aggressively, especially since we had Savage Sash each time to bail us out, was probably worth it. And you can tell that we kind of dominated, right? Pretty sick. All right, guys. Go play this deck. Let's work together. Eugene has done all of the work, kind of putting this deck together, building the strategy, making it all happen. Let's go support him and put a lot of effort in trying to make Rhinar an A-tier hero again. So I'll see you guys around. Have a great day.